The regular open meeting of Vesuvius Town Council, November the 7th, 2016, in Council Chambers, and it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I'll call the meeting to order, and we'll do the adoption of some minutes first. The Committee of the Whole meeting minutes of October the 17th, the regular open minutes of October the 17th, the special open minutes of October the 24th, and the public hearing minutes of October the 24th. Could I have, they can be adopted together, can they not? Thank you. Councillor King, Councillor Youngberg, all in favor? Thank you very much. Any business arising from the minutes? No. So, introduction of late items. There are 3 of them, and they are the community services bad debt, the Sonora roof repairs, and the RDOS funding agreement. And those will be business items 7, 8, and 9. So could I have somebody move the adoption of the agenda as amended? Thank you very much. Rhodes Campol, all in favor? Thank you. And we have no delegations today, and no water matters, and no correspondence. Getting right through there, eh? So first is bylaws, and that is the amended DCC bylaw, and that would be Director Cunningham.
Thank you. The town of Vesuvius is seeking to replace its current 207 DCC bylaw. Following Council's third reading of our proposed new DCC bylaw, staff referred it to the Provincial Inspectorate of Municipalities for their prior approval before Council adoption. Unfortunately, progress has been delayed by the province requiring certain amendments before they will sign off. Staff now asks Council to rescind their previous bylaw third reading and give third reading to the amended version. And see the highlighted revisions for the changes. Both the previous and amended versions of the new bylaw are attached. Following are amendments to our new bylaw. First, clarification on the parkland DCCs. There was misunderstanding between the town and the Provincial Inspectorate about our parkland DCC charges for commercial use developments. While since 1999 we have consistently exempted most commercial uses from parkland DCCs, we have charged tourist accommodation uses because they are seen as generating additional demands for tourist accommodation uses generating additional demands for parks and trails in similar fashion to residential developments. This year the province questioned this practice but eventually confirmed we can charge differential commercial rates. However, they requested we added a wording clarification in Schedule A of the bylaw that a parkland DCC charge of $1,992 is payable per each motel-hotel unit. We also charge the same per each recreational vehicle or campground site. Second, clarification on smaller housing developments. We have carried forward our previous election into the new bylaw of not exempting developments with fewer than 4 dwelling units from paying DCCs. However, rather than simply leaving this out of our list of permitted exemptions as we do in our current bylaw, we've responded to a provincial request by adding a section 4 in the general body of the bylaw that explicitly excludes developments with less than 4 dwellings from paying DCCs. Third, and most importantly, removal of water metering project. Our new bylaw calculates DCC charges on the basis of 16 infrastructure projects needed to accommodate our projected population growth up to 225, and I should say beyond that. Unfortunately, the province requires that we delete one of those projects, i.e. 4.1, demand management to increase water supply service. Our current bylaw includes a DCC project for an additional well number 7 at a cost of $1.62 million, but our engineers confirmed this project would be redundant in light of Council's plan to implement universal water metering by 2021 at an estimated cost of $2.1 million. Thus, in good faith, we did not carry forth our supply expansion DC well project and instead substituted it with a new demand management project to collect DCCs for the estimated 50% of water metering capital costs attributable to new development, i.e. $1.05 million. Pardon me. We had modeled our water metering DCC project after one that had been operating in Oliver, but the province responded that this project is only experimental in nature and they are still working on overall policy for all municipalities. We challenged that our project would both assist meeting our expensive water metering obligations in accord with the province's own target in their Living Water Smart plan that 50% of additional water demands attributable to new development should be provided through conservation initiatives, but to no avail. However, if the province does subsequently agree that water metering can be an eligible DCC charge, we are advised that we would be able to pass a minor DCC bylaw to add our project back in. Options. Option 1, Council supports a new bylaw revisions. Option 2, Council requires further revisions. Implications. Community. Council convened an advertised public meeting for interested persons on July 4th, but did not receive any presentations or submissions. Organizational Planning Development Services collects DCCs as parts of development application processes. Budget. Removing water metering project lowers our benchmark DCC charges for low-density residential uses to $9,270 per unit in the amended bylaw, compared with $10,375 previously and compared with our current level of $9,663. Our proposed new rate is still more than Summerland and Oliver, but considerably less than West Kelowna, Peachland, and Penticton. Significant dates. The Inspectorate of Municipalities has committed that after we repeat third reading with the required changes, they will approve our bylaw ready for final council adoption. Concurrent with adoption, staff will request council to approve transitional policies for any in-stream development applications already in place. Sustainability. Our DCC bylaw will support modernizing and expanding our community infrastructure to provide high-level quality services to residents and visitors and to support and promote future growth. Recommendations. Staff recommends Council to rescind the previous third reading of our former DCC bylaw number 1322216 and give third reading to amended DCC bylaw number 132-216. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Council, anybody like? Councillor Campol.
I assume that two motions would be necessary, one to rescind and one, or no, is it one motion?
Just one motion? Okay.
Okay.
Would you like to make the motion?
Yeah, I'd recommend that we rescind the previous third reading of the former DCC bylaw number 1322-2016 and give third reading to amended DCC bylaw 1322-2016.
Thank you. And it's been seconded. Anyone else? Thank you for going through all of the changes and clarifying them. And as you said, nobody showed up at the public meeting,
No.
so we think that must be all right. If there's nothing else, all in favor of the motion? Thank you very much. Next is OCP amendment bylaw and zoning amendments. Ms. Huang?
Thank you. The purpose of this report is to request that Council adopts Official Community Plan Amendments Bylaw number 1230.18/2016 and gives third reading and final adoption to Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 1085.97/2016. Over the years, Planning and Development Services staff has identified various items that should be addressed in the OCP and the zoning bylaw, such as provisions that require clarification, out-of-date and missing information, and inconsistent formatting and naming conventions. The proposed amendments are therefore intended to address some of these shortcomings and minor issues and improve the overall clarity of the OCP and the zoning bylaw. In terms of overview, Council gave first and second readings to the amendment bylaws on October 3rd, 2016, and then proceeded to a public hearing on October the 24th, 2016. 4 members of the public were present, and 1 person spoke at the meeting, although the comments were not directly associated with the proposed amendments. During the special open meeting that immediately followed, Council gave third reading to the OCP amendment bylaw, but made a motion that further revisions be made to the zoning amendment respecting dwelling units that are located below the first story of commercial uses in the C1, C2, C3, and C7 zones. As discussed in previous reports, while a number of the proposed changes are fairly minor in nature, the more significant amendments include the following. Relating to the OCP, this includes clarifying that duplexes are included under the multifamily residential development permits area, and as well as clarifying that all industrial developments are included under the industrial development permits area. Relating to the zoning bylaw, the changes include amending certain accessory building and structure provisions, adding new provisions that address solar energy devices, amending the secondary dwelling unit floor area to align with BC Building Code regulations, reducing the ratio of required disability parking spaces, clarifying that only single-family or two-family dwellings are permitted in the R6, R7, and R7A zones, as well as making further revisions to mixed commercial and residential uses in the C1, C2, C3, and C7 zones. So to provide more detail, the earlier version of the zoning amendment bylaw proposed that only residential uses located above the first story of commercial uses are permitted. However, in response to the motion made by Council, staff is proposing to adjust the bylaw wording so that the dwelling units located above or below the first story of commercial uses remain permitted, as long as the commercial space is on the ground floor at street level. So this means that there should not be any ground floor residential uses with upper floor commercial uses. It should be noted that these dwelling units would also be required to meet other applicable regulations, such as BC Building Code provisions. In terms of implications for the community, members of the public had an opportunity to be heard and to present any written responses at the October 24th, 2016 public hearing. Organizationally, the proposed amendments will provide greater clarity to the OCP and the zoning bylaw while making it easier for staff to interpret and implement them. In terms of budget, since this proposal is staff-initiated, the public notice advertisement cost was covered by the town. In terms of sustainability, with respect to solar energy devices, the new proposed zoning provisions will help regulate the installation of these devices while facilitating the use of renewable energy. In terms of options for Council, option number 1, Council adopts OCP Amendments Bylaw number 1230.18 2016 and gives third reading and final adoption to Zoning Amendments Bylaw number 1085.97 2016 as amended. Option number 2, Council requests further revisions to the bylaws before proceeding further. And option number 3, Council does not adopt the bylaws and the bylaws will be abandoned. And staff's recommendation is option number 1.
Thank you very much. And I know that you've been through this a few times, and we thank you for looking at the one issue that was brought up the last time. Councillor King?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can you explain me the difference between item 10 and number 11, please?
Number 10. So this relates to the definitions for manufactured homes and mobile homes. So they are different types of dwellings. So for manufactured homes, I believe they are regulated under BC Building Code regulations, but mobile homes they are considered as a separate category.
In your description, you identify them as manufactured homes, and
Yes.
both of them built off-site and then built on-site when they're come here. So I'm just kind of trying to get clarity on why you have two definitions of one. Number 10 is a manufactured home and number 11 is a mobile home.
they are not the same. Some of our zones, because manufactured homes can be considered as a single-family dwelling unit, but a mobile home is not considered as a single-family dwelling. So,
What is it classified as?
Okay, if I could just clarify a bit.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's two different standards there. They're both CSA approved, but they have different CSA number accreditations. Okay, so one pertains to the mobile home, which is the long kind of structure that you're maybe well acquainted with, which is mounted on girders and taken to the site and deposited there. And the other type is more like a traditional home, but it's modular, and it's taken to the site most likely in components and assembled on the site, and assembled on, in our case, on a foundation, a concrete or perimeter foundation.
Are you okay with that, Councillor King?
Yeah.
Yeah. There is a slight difference. And it went the regional district. We went through
Yeah,
it as well. So,
I understand the difference.
But they're both generically called manufactured homes.
Yeah.
Generically.
Okay. So where are we at here, Councillor Rhodes?
Thank you, Mayor McCordov. So I'll move the council adopt the OCP amendment bylaw number 1230.18 of 2016 and gives third reading and final adoption to zoning. Okay. Council, thank you.
Just the OCP
I'll just
one
stop
this
right
time?
there then.
Is there a seconder for
Yeah,
that?
I'll second that.
Thank you. So, any concerns about that? All in favor of that motion? Thank you very much. And now we need a second motion. Councillor Campol?
I'll move to give third and final adoption to zoning amendment bylaw number 1085-97, 2016 as amended.
Third
Third reading.
Third and, yeah, okay, third reading, and you're seconding that? Thank you. Now, have we got that adjusted correctly, Mrs. Hilson? Okay. Would you like to tell us how we can fix this?
And adoption for zoning.
Yeah, they had a public hearing, so there is that section under the Local Government Act, yes.
Okay.
So we can go ahead with that, a third and final adoption, am I correct? Yeah, okay. So any other concerns? All in favor?
No.
Oh, all in favor.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
I want to ask a question after the vote's over.
Absolutely, and so go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Director Cunningham. If Cedar Villa is considered a mobile home lot, they're all mobile homes, are they now non-conforming because they're not single-family under the new amendment?
No,
Because they're all mobile
the amendment is just the wording for the definition, because right now it's just the ordering of the terminology, because right now it's listed under the C section. So I mean, if it's just easier for someone to look at, the terms manufactured home or mobile home under the definition section, rather than, knowing that it's CSA 8277, for example.
But not considered single-family? Mobile home would not be considered single-family is what
No.
it reads.
No.
Yeah, that's
That's not
not
correct.
quite
true.
It's a single-family dwelling as well.
yes, it is.
And in fact, we have provisions in our bylaw that where people want, they can substitute a manufactured home construction of not a mobile home, but the other manufactured home construction for normal stick built housing. Okay.
So manufactured homes are considered as single-family dwellings, but not mobile homes.
Okay. All right, we clear on that now? Or it is confusing for sure because there's a slight variation there, yeah. Okay.
Playing on words.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so we're going to move on then to the cemetery bylaw, and that would be Mr. Zackel.
Thank you, Mayor McCordov.
So before council is Cemetery Bylaw 1325-2016. The town of Osoyoos operates the Osoyoos Lakeview Cemetery under Bylaw 1319. On the 16th of August 2016, Consumer Protection BC conducted a review of the town's cemetery bylaw and facilities. The organization is the regulatory authority responsible for the administration and enforcement of business practices and Consumer Protection Act, the Cremation, Interment, and Funeral Services Act, and the Cremation, Interment, Funeral Services Regulations. From the review conducted, a number of recommendations were made. All attention items have been addressed and are included as the following. Schedule B, the fee schedule has been posted on the main floor for public display. Schedule forms were updated with current legislation. The town's cemetery license has been changed from Osoyoos Cemetery to Osoyoos Lakeview Cemetery to be consistent with the signage at the cemetery. The town's business address has been added to Schedule B, and the care fund rate for adult grave space has been increased to $154, which is 25% of the fee for an adult grave space. Cemetery Bylaw 1325-2016 is being brought forward for Council's consideration. The bylaw has included all recommendations from the Consumer Protection BC and include rates. Cemetery care fund for an adult grave space is changed to $154. Previously, I believe it was $153 or $152. Housekeeping changes. Section 2.1 changed cemetery name to Osoyoos Lakeview Cemetery. Section 3.7 was added. Section 4.7 was updated. Section 6.3 memorials was modified, and Schedule C was updated. These changes were all reviewed and approved by the Operational Services Director. Implications for community. Ensures users of the cemetery pay for the services and is not funded through taxation. Organizationally, no changes. Budget, no changes. Significant dates. New bylaw would take effect once the bylaw is adopted. Sustainability, ensures financial sustainability of the Osoyoos Lakeview Cemetery. Options before council to give first three readings to Cemetery Bylaw 1325-2016. Option 2 to make further amendments to Bylaw 1325-2016. Option 3 to maintain existing Bylaw 1319-2016. And staff's recommendation is option number 1, making these changes to the town's cemetery bylaw keeps the town in compliance with the Consumer Protection BC.
Thank you very much. Council, anybody? Councillor Campol?
I'd like to move option number 1, making these to give the first three readings to Cemetery Bylaw 1325-2016.
Thank you. That was moved and seconded. All in favor? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is the Animal Control and Licensing Bylaw. Ms. Van Vienen.
Thank you. At the October 3rd, 2016 Committee of the Whole meeting, staff brought forward draft Animal Control and Licensing Bylaw number 1316-2016. Council directed that this bylaw be brought back to a regular open meeting for consideration after it had been vetted by legal counsel. The bylaw has now been reviewed by legal counsel. A couple of small changes were made to reduce repetitiveness in the bylaw, and some comments were given regarding procedures on enforcing certain sections. A new Schedule F showing the Gyro Park pathway was included at the advice of the lawyer, and alternative wording was provided to give clarity as to when dogs are permitted in Gyro Park and on the pathway. This new bylaw also provides for an index for ease of navigating and finding pertinent sections. This bylaw amalgamates the previous cat control bylaw into the animal control bylaw. Other significant changes from the previous bylaws include the reduction of number of dogs permitted per residence from 3 to 2, although this will be grandfathered, so anybody that does have 3 dogs right now can continue to have that until one of them... I don't want to say it.
Seriously?
You shouldn't want to say it.
Stricter regulations for dangerous or vicious dogs and regulates other animals, including exotic animals. It also provides for clear regulations on care and control of dogs, including barking. The bylaw is now being presented for adoption. Implications for the community: improved bylaw that amalgamates the dog and cat control bylaws and provides regulation on other animals within the town. Organizationally, enforcement of the bylaw no budget concerns, no significant dates, and sustainability to provide a bylaw that regulates all domesticated and exotic animals in town. Options that Animal Control and Licensing Bylaw number 1316, 2016 be read a first, second, and third time, or that 2, that it be forwarded back to staff for further review, or 3, that it be abandoned, and staff recommend option 1.
Thank you very much for going through this again and having it vetted by legal counsel. I guess I had one question. We seem to get quite a few complaints from people on barking dogs, and so there definitely is something in here on control of dogs, including barking. Is this something that we have the bylaw officer attend to? Is that, yeah, because it's, well, I know she already has, but does this give her a little bit more control over that, or?
Not really. What it is if there's a barking dog that's a problem to neighbors, they have to fill out a noise log before we can issue a violation ticket. It's when we get to court that this bylaw will give us more teeth if the dog owner disputes the ticket.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. I know that it's a big issue. Councillor King?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If you had a complaint that one of the neighbors thought they had, say, 4 or 5 dogs, does the bylaw officer have the right to go into that house, or do they need a warrant?
They have to have a warrant.
Okay. Thank you.
They can go in and determine how many dogs are there, but before we can take any dogs, we have to have a warrant.
Okay.
No, but you wouldn't get into the house to see if they actually have 4 or 5 dogs to start with.
It would be difficult.
Pictures through the window. Councillor Rhodes?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor McCartoff. I'll move option 1, that Animal Control and Licensing Bylaw number 1326 of 2016 be read a first, second, and third time.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that?
Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Youngberg. Now, is there anything further? Councillor Campol.
Just a question. Minimizing the amount of dogs from 3 to 2, how does that compare to other municipalities around us? Is that fairly common?
Common to have 2, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And just
Yes.
further to Councillor King's question, the bylaw officer does have the right to enter onto the property to ensure the bylaws are being, people are abiding by the bylaws. It's whether they can get inside the residence that would be the problem, yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. So it's been moved and seconded that we go with option 1. All in favor? Thank you very much. Next, we have an expense form for Councillor Campol, attended UBCM. Could we have...
Are you serious? Have my handwriting up on the screen for everybody to see?
Yes?
That's awesome.
Not that great.
I was meant to be a doctor.
You could have put 26 to 29 on the first line and saved yourself some writing.
What did you used to do for a living?
Well, you could come and have lessons. Okay, so who's moving this? Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Youngberg, all in favor. Thank you very much.
I'm down now.
Next is the Gyro Park Pier and Foreshore Walkway final design. Mr. Cunningham.
Thank you, and I must have to apologize for a very bad cold, which is not helping my voice at all. But anyhow, attached is an RFP for the Gyro Park Pier and Foreshore Walkway final design for council approval. The Waterfront Steering Committee, chaired by Councillor C.J. Rhodes, reviewed a draft version of the RFP on October 19th, and their comments have been incorporated in the current version. Council allocated $82,500 in their 2016 budget for undertaking the final design, but at a special meeting on October 24th resolved to support an application to the BC Rural Dividend Fund for an 80% funding share of $66,000. The response to our funding application will not be known until March 2017, so the RFP will be released after that date. And I've been giving that some thought afterwards in terms of trying to accelerate our timelines. And perhaps what we could do is we could start before that date, but make any award subject to the date of funding availability. I think that's perfectly doable. And we could probably save ourselves anything from a month to 6 weeks by doing that. Options: Council approves the RFP for Gyro Park Pier and Foreshore Walkway final design, or Council requires further revisions. And I'll go back and describe the changes that I think were significant, have been put into this document. Pier will be a beautiful asset for our town under community impacts. Organization: the Waterfront Steering Committee will review all competitive RFP proposals and recommend to Council on contractor selection. Budget: if the town's application to the BC Rural Dividend Fund is unsuccessful, then all the monies would have to be budgeted by the town. Significant dates: the RFP mentions starting pier construction late in 2017 or beyond, but how early it can actually start is dependent on completion of the final design and availability of funds. Sustainability: Pier will contribute to community and economic sustainability. The administration recommends option 1. Council approve the RFP for Gyro Park Pier and Foreshore Walkway final design. Before I ask you to proceed with that, I'll just point out some items which are noteworthy, I think, in the actual RFP document itself. First of all, under purposes, we always had it that there was going to be the design, and then the consultant contractor had to obtain all required environmental approvals. But to that, we've added, and this is under purposes 2, an amended provincial license of occupation. This is we've been involved in discussions with the province on this, and it's starting to become very complicated and intertwined with the actual design of the pier itself. So we've inserted that as part of the scope of the purpose of the work that the contractor has to take on. And the project scope itself, we've got an item in here, boat moorage, and this 4 boat slip should be connectable by a ramp from the eastern side of the pier to enable water connections between downtown and other lakeshore points. And this is what I want to emphasize. It's not the town's intention to include this component for immediate contract tendering, but needs to be designed and costed as an integral part of the current final design for later possible consideration. Under specified materials, draw your attention to D, off-the-shelf availability from suppliers in accordance with industry standards, and that's a learning that we took from our experiences in Gyro Park. And I've added in here local sourcing as much as possible. Going over to consultant organization, and this was a learning that we took from our Parks and Trails plan. All meetings and presentations should preferably be on a face-to-face basis and will be personally attended by the project leader. Computer-assisted design and presentation aids should be flexible enough, sufficiently flexible to readily facilitate revisions and updates as needed through the course of the contract. Because we did have problems in both of those areas in that last contract, so we learn from our experiences, and we'll make sure that does not happen again. And then something else which in retrospect I want to add is that in order to cut down on the boilerplating, we'll say that any examples of work should be pertinent to this particular contract. We don't care, that they designed a new city for Nairobi or whatever it happens to be. We want to cut down the size of the document.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you very much. Councillor Rhodes, as the chair of this committee, did you have anything that you would like to add to it? Or and I didn't know whether Councillor Campol had been there or not, but you were the chair?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, no, I think Director Cunningham has covered absolutely everything that we discussed in our last meeting. I think we were kind of happy to clarify the boat moorage part of it. I know it was a bit of an issue, and we debated it quite a bit, and I think this is a really, really good way for us to actually include all of the technical aspect of it and the design part of it. And then at some point or another in the future, we can decide whether we're going to go ahead with that portion. And that's really all I wanted to mention. And thank you very much for going through that whole process with us. And I'm really quite excited about getting this out to final design. This is such a neat project for our community. And so based on all that rhetoric, I'd like to offer the option number 1 as a motion.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Campol is seconding that. Anybody else have anything to add? All in favor? Thank you very much. So that will go out pretty quickly?
Well, it'll go out in the new year as we approach the time when we think we're going to get funding confirmation or we're going to get some sort of notice. We'll put the tenders out so that we're ready to roll, whether or not we get that money. Hopefully we will, and everything should be in place to start rolling the day after we get the money.
So is it possible to include it in our budgeting meetings and move it forward, or do we have to really wait until the possible funding comes in? Mr. Emanko, do you have any?
Well, the money's been budgeted for in 2016, so we have the ability to spend the entire amount. It's whether or not we need to spend the entire amount. So if what we will do is we will move the money into the 2017 budgeting process, and if council still sees it as a priority project, the entire amount will stay, and then we will find out whether or not we'll get the grant application, because we should be finished our budgeting process maybe before this project is announced.
Right.
Alternatively, we could only budget the 20-some thousand, but I think it's probably more diligent to budget the entire amount.
Yes, that made sense. That's what I was asking, if we could do that, and then if we got the money from the, that would be even better, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Next is the appointment of subdivision approving officers, and that would be Mr. Cunningham again. And your voice isn't. Is it? Are you going to hold up through the meeting?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Never been known to fail completely. Section 77(1) of the BC Land Title Act requires that each municipal council must appoint a person as an approving officer for dealing with all lands in their municipality. The administration is requesting council to meet our legal obligation by appointing both the Director of Planning and Development Services and the Senior Planner positions as approving officers. It is noted that subdivision approving officers have separate and independent jurisdiction from the municipal council in subdivision matters, in similar fashion to a building inspector over building matters. Subdivision approving officers are responsible for ensuring that all subdivisions accord with applicable provincial statutes and regulations, as well as with local government bylaws regulating subdivision and zoning, but also have wide discretion for considering whether a proposed subdivision is, quote, in the public interest. The scope of subdivisions include approving the division of lots into smaller lots, adjusting or realigning existing lot lines, approving bare land or phase strata plans, and designating statutory right-of-ways, parkland dedications, and service easements. Options. Option 1, approve both the positions of the Director of Planning and Development Services and Senior Planner as subdivision approving officers, or Option 2, approve one of the positions as subdivision approving officer. Under organization, is noted that Dallas Wang recently attended a week-long course of the Municipal Administration Training Institute, NADI, School for Statutory Approving Officers. Recommendation, because an approving officer's recommendations cannot be redelegated, having two appointments will be useful for covering off a situation when one person is away or unavailable. Therefore, option 1 is recommended. That is, approve both the positions of Director of Planning and Development Services and Senior Planner as subdivision approving officers.
Thank you very much. Council, thank you. Councillor Youngberg.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. Because I think this is a real necessity, I think I'll Make a motion to approve option number 1, to approve both the positions of Director of Planning and Development Services and Senior Planner as subdivision improvement officers. Okay.
Thank
I'll
you.
second
And
that.
Councillor King is seconding that. Anyone else? Absolutely. All in favor? Thank you very much. Next, we have bad debts. This is probably not a good one, Mr. Zackel, but it's your baby. Go ahead.
Unfortunately. Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. So there are 3 outstanding accounts receivable invoices as attached that are being brought forward for council to consider writing off as bad debts. All of these outstanding receivables have been sent off to collections. First one is invoice 22549 is to Chan Van Doren in the amount of $23.01 with an invoice date of October 3rd, 2013. This outstanding bill was sent to collections in 2015 and has not been paid. This invoice was for electrical for their mobile business. Procedures were put in place after this bill was not paid, and now new mobile vendors must pay the town a deposit before we set them up. Under invoice 22559, this is for Robert Clyde Madsen in the amount of $17 with an invoice date of October 11th, 2013. This outstanding bill was sent to collections in 2015 and has also not been paid. Mr. Madsen's license plate has been registered at the landfill, and he cannot use the landfill until the bill is paid, because this was for landfill tipping fees. The third and final one that I have is invoice 23418. It's to Turtle Tanks under the name of Mary Gonzalez in the amount of $152 with an invoice date of November 13th, 2013. This invoice was also sent to collections in 2015 and has not been paid. It's my understanding that this company also went bankrupt. So all invoices and outstanding statements are mailed out each month, but we received no response on these 3 items. So implications under community. The community will know who the bad debts are for. Unfortunately, all means of collection have been exhausted. Organizationally, no changes are required. The budget to write off $192.01 of reported revenues. Sustainability, there's nothing to report. So options before council. Option 1, to write off the bad debts of Chan Van Doren in the amount of $23.01. Robert Clyde Madsen in the amount of $17, and Turtle Tanks in the amount of $152. Or option 2, to leave the outstanding debts on the town's books. And staff's recommendation is option 1.
Thank you. Can I ask a question? Is there a certain length of time that these should be left on the books, and has that time passed?
I try to leave them on for at least a couple of years. We try all means within to collect them. These charges have also been sent off to collections, so they're on their books as far as trying to collect them on behalf of the town. So if they do collect it in the meantime, even though we've written them off as a bad debt, we will get our portion back, or I believe it's 50% of it back.
Because once you send it to collections, they get 50 and you. Okay, fair enough. That's what I thought. Councillor Campol.
I'd like to move option number 1, please.
Thank you. Seconder. Councillor Rhodes. All in favor? Thank you. Next is the West Nile Virus Reserve Fund. Mr. Zackel.
Thank you. This reserve fund was set up in 2007 to reserve $5,000, which was unspent budget funds that was allocated towards the West Nile virus. At the 2017 Council Strategic Planning Session, Council asked staff to explore getting rid of the West Nile Reserve. In order to do this, a resolution of Council is required. Over the last 9 years, there has been no need to utilize these funds. So implications for community, there's none. Organizationally, no impacts. Budgeting, funding would remain in reserves. Significant dates, transfer can take place at any time after Council passes a resolution to change. Sustainability, nothing to report. 2 options before Council. For Council to transfer the $5,000 from West Nile Reserve Fund to the General Reserve Fund, or option 2, to maintain the West Nile Reserve Fund as is. And staff's recommending option 1 as requested from Council in their 2017 Council Strategic Planning Session.
Thank you. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. I noticed that there's a couple of options in there. I'd like to offer a resolution based somewhat like the one in there, with one exception. That would be for council to transfer the $5,000 from the West Nile Reserve Fund to our community grant and aid program.
Is there a seconder? So seconded by Councillor Campol. Any other, Councillor Rhodes, would you like to speak to this?
Yeah, I have a few words about it. I wanted to ask Director Zacco if that is an appropriate move. I know that it kind of skips a thing. I mean, I don't want to do anything inappropriate, but I just feel that our community grant and aid program is such a special thing that we have in our community. This is $5,000 that has been sitting in a reserve fund for many years now, and we have not missed it in general revenue. And the positive impact of moving it directly into the community grant and aid program is far more positive than putting it into general revenue for myself.
Two things. If you're wanting to put this right into being able to spend this money this year, we would have to go through a financial plan amendment to move that money into our current year's budget. If you want to transfer that reserve fund, which hasn't been allocated yet, to a reserve fund for grant and aid program, that can be done immediately, no problem whatsoever. That's council's decision what to do with the town's funds.
Is there such a reserve fund set up right now, or what you'd have to put together a reserve fund to put this into it?
And that's no problem whatsoever.
Okay.
If council's resolution is to put it into that reserve fund, it's done.
Okay.
The intent of my motion, and I knew that this would garner up some conversation about it. My intent with the resolution would be to put it directly in there and available for the 2017 grant program.
Yes, through our budgeting process, then what we would have as a source of funds in our operating account is basically the $5,000 coming from the reserve fund for grant and aids. So ultimately, any increase in the grant and aid program that the town has would be a tax increase. However, that $5,000 would reduce that tax increase by that amount, if that's what we do.
So this is doable then?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Sort of.
Go ahead. Did you want to say something?
I just want to make sure I understand it. By creating the reserve fund and putting the $5,000 into the reserve fund for grant and aid, it means we could purpose that money in 2017. Okay.
Yeah. So, Councillor King.
Is that still kind of a separate fund than the, say, $68,000 or $73,000 we give out to the community? Is that on?
Yes. Ultimately, your grant and aid funding is coming through from taxation. Mm-hmm. That's where that money's coming from. If this was transferred into general reserve funds as well, it just means that that money could be spent anywhere within your general operating fund or capital fund. Designating it as a specific project or that's council's decision or discretion, but it limits you to what you can use it for, other than making a new resolution to change that.
Councillor Rhodes.
If I could maybe reword the motion a little bit to include that reserve fund, I guess seems like the best way to go with it.
So would you like to read the motion again then, Mrs. Hilson? Once you get it.
You'll have to create one into a new community grant and aid program reserve fund to be expended in 2017.
We wouldn't need all of that. We would just need the transfer.
He wants it used in 2017.
Okay.
Yeah, to be used, expended in 2017 in the grant and aid program.
Thank you.
That Council direct administration to transfer $5,000 from the West Nile Reserve Fund into a new Community Grant and Aid Program Reserve Fund to be expended in 2017 in the Grant and Aid Program.
Is that right?
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor of the motion? Thank you. That's carried. Next is the Music in the Park financial request. I see we have two of them here waiting to see what we're about to suggest.
In the last 2 years, Council has provided organizers of the Music in the Park program with $3,925 in 2015 and $6,225 in 2016 of funding from the Resort Municipality Initiative Funds to assist with delivering music and events in the Gyro Park. Attached is the reporting of the 2016 events and a financial report. The attached letter from Music in the Park organizers is requesting $8,865 of Resort Municipality funds to deliver the 2017 program. The financial request provides a rationale that supports the request for increased funding, increasing costs relating to insurance, performers, and activities relating to piano in the park. The Resort Municipality program allows 30% of RMI funding to be spent annually to develop special events that will enhance visitor experiences and attract visitors to town. In 2016, Council approved a Resort Municipality budget of $15,000 for this type of programming, and $8,900 of funding remains. In terms of implications, community, visitors, and the community as a whole benefits from having live entertainment at Gyro Park on weekends. Organizationally, Public Works assists in the setup of the bleachers. Budget funding of this project can come from the remaining 2016 Resort Municipality funds in the Enhancing Visitor Experiences category or from the 2017 allocation. Administration recommends expending the 2016 budget amount. Significant dates. Event organizers would like an answer as soon as possible to enable booking of entertainers. No sustainability issues. In terms of options, 1, Council passes a resolution providing funds from the 2016 RMI program budget to enable development of the 2017 Music in the Park program. 2, Council passes a resolution allocating funds from the 2017 RMI program budget to enable development of the 2017 Music in the Park program. 3, Council passes a resolution denying the request for funding for the 2017 Music in the Park program. And 4, Council requests additional information. Administration recommends option number 1. This event is in line with the desired goals of the Resort Municipality Initiative funding and tourism development strategies. Funding in 2016 will enable organizers to seek out and book high-quality entertainment.
Thank you very much. And I see 2 of the 3 amigos are here today, so I'd just like to say thank you for the very complete report that you have given to us. That certainly helps us in our decision. And I commend you for doing a terrific job of increasing the number of participants and people that showed up. It was very well attended this year, I think double from the year before. And also I think that the piano down there is a very nice addition, so thank you for looking after that as well. Councillor Rhodes, or Campol.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. I'm just blown away by the amount of work that goes into this, how it's gotten better year over year. It's the attendance this year was clearly better than previous, which means it's building and it's growing. And I think the quality of entertainment and what we put into it should as well. So this is an easy recommendation for me to move option number 1.
Thank you. Councillor King?
Yeah, question. Just to clarify, is that the $8,865 that's left? Would that be the correct number you're asking for?
That's the number that's in the letter here, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So are you seconding that
I'd
motion?
second
Yeah,
it.
okay, thank you. Do we have anybody else that wants to? No. Yes, Councillor Rhodes.
I'd just like to echo the comments of the mayor. Thank you very much for everything that you did. And as Councillor Campol mentioned, how this thing is growing every year exponentially makes me really excited. I think that the number one comment that I heard from people, from visitors to our community last year, was that Friday night music in the park thing and how much they appreciated it. And, you know, it wasn't all about the music that you created down there. It was about the experience and going down there and throwing your chair down and sitting there and in that beautiful environment. And so thank you very, very much. I hope you'll pass that on to Alan as well. Great job, and thank you very much for it. And like it was mentioned, this fits right in the no-brainer category for me.
We're missing the Martin Short of the Amigos. It looks like.
Yes, we are.
That's right, yeah.
And Alan has already done a lot of music. He sets up at JoJo's as well, so it's great. Can I just have we voted on this yet?
No.
Okay, can we vote on this? All in favor? I have two things that I'd like to say. That was carried. The Naden Band is obviously a huge draw, and I commend you for getting them back this year. I think they are particularly happy to come back because you give them wine, so they'll never turn that down. And the other thing is, I'd like you to really look carefully at the June 30th date. And we were sort of discussing this before, because this year it's Canada's 150th, and we're a little bit concerned about what might have to be done on the Friday down there, because town staff does not work on a Saturday, and or because it's not only that, but it's July 1st. Before you hire somebody for that date, can you just have another kind of look at that? I think we may be super busy that day getting things set up. However, if it works and you can arrange somebody in there, perhaps somebody local like Rusty, who always is a big draw, then that would work. There just could be other things going on down at the park that night. That's all I'm worried about. So thank you very much, and use the money wisely. Okay. Next is, are we on number 7? Community Services Bad Debt. Am I correct? Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Staff is bringing forward an outstanding receivable. Catherine Lawson has been contacted through mail correspondence and has been returned with no forwarding address. An unpaid invoice of $12.83 from Catherine Lawson was for a program at the Sonora Community Center and is over 120 days past due. Ms. Lawson has received multiple notifications, and we have not received any response. In a letter that was sent to Ms. Lawson, it stated that she will no longer be able to book any facilities or register for any programs until the debt is paid. Unfortunately, with the letter returned with no forwarding address, we have no other course of action. We have also tried to call her by telephone with no luck. In terms of implications for the community, just public notification for bad debt, a loss of revenue of $12.83 as a budget, and the options for council to write off the bad debt for Catherine Lawson for $12.83, or for council not to write this bad debt off at this time. And staff is recommending option number 1. Just so council knows that statement notifications are sent out on a regular basis, and if they come back unpaid or are continuing to be sent out, staff will forward a letter stating that they need to reapply ASAP, or they will lose the privileges of booking town facilities or registering for programs.
Thank you. And it's unfortunate that it has to finally come to a public meeting like this to be solved, but we totally understand. Can I have a council? Thank you. Councillor Rhodes?
I'll move option number 1.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Council? Yes. Mr. Zackel? It was seconded, sorry, by Councillor King. Got it. Sorry.
Just also to confirm that item would also be sent to collections.
Okay.
Yep.
So it would be, and so at some point it could come back. Okay. Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Next is the Sonora roof repairs, and that's Mr. Davis.
Thank you again, Madam Mayor. At the October 17th meeting of council, staff presented a budget amendment to allocate funds for the repair of the Sonora Community Center roof. Council also passed 2 other resolutions to assist with the cost of completing the work. Staff is bringing forward a recommendation to address the roof repairs. Staff released a request for proposal and submitted locally to the Osoyoos Times and also on BC Bid. Staff had a site meeting and asked proponents to submit an RFP to repair the roof. In summary, we asked to tear off and dispose of the tar and gravel roof sections, replace sheathing and insulation if required, remove perimeter cap and wall flashings, install 2-ply torch-on modified membrane, and reinstall cap and wall flashings. It was also stated that all work completed should be accompanied by a warranty. The proposals we received included Nielsen Roofing at a cost of $95,970, Interior Roofing at $98,600, and All-Purpose Roofing for $107,000. Since this was an emergency repair, to get this completed as soon as possible in order to minimize any potential programming, special events, or functions that may be scheduled in the center. The price submitted by Nielsen Roofing did not include the replacement of insulation or sheathing. If this is needed once the tear-off is completed, it will cost an additional $3 a square foot. Since the roof has been leaking, some of this may need to be replaced. We just won't know until the roof is torn off. In the quote submitted by Interior Roofing, it includes replacing all the insulation, and it is included in the price. All-Purpose didn't include insulation in their quote. In terms of implications for the community, not having the roof repaired could possibly interfere with community programs and functions, especially ones that are scheduled in the gymnasium. Organizational, getting a contractor hired and the work completed in a timely fashion. Budget, 3 resolutions were passed in order to help offset the cost of the repair, which could total up to $115,000. Significant dates to be done ASAP. And in terms of sustainability, repairing the roof will assist in keeping our building functional and operational for many years. For options, for Council to approve the roof repair project and award to Interior Roofing Limited for a cost of $98,600 plus GST. This does not include costs to repair potential damages to the structure. Option number 2, for Council to approve the roof repair project and award to Nielsen Roofing and Sheet Metal Limited for the cost of $95,970. This does not include the cost of any additional insulation or sheeting if needed, which will be charged at $3 a square foot. And option number 3, for Council not to award the roof repair project at this time. And staff is recommending option number 1. Moving forward ASAP to get the roof completed would be optimal. Interior Roofing can get the job completed this year. Their price includes replacing all the insulation over the gymnasium, approximately 7,000 square feet. However, if Nielsen is awarded the project, then we will be charged an additional $3 a square foot for insulation if needed, and not knowing how much will need to be replaced makes it very difficult. Staff feels that the quote submitted by Interior Roofing would be more feasible. If other items are needed in terms of structure, rot, or mold, we have some contingency funds to accommodate.
Thank you very much. So just to go back on the way we normally do this, when we put out an RFP, it's generally we are required to take the lowest bid. In this case, you've made a very good case for going with the second lowest because going with the first one could conceivably cost us quite a bit more. So thank you for pointing that out in your report. If something comes back when they get started on this and there are major problems in there, would that then come back to council? Would that come to a report, Mr. Romain?
Probably not. We would just get the work
Just
done,
do
and
it.
then because when the roof is open,
Yeah.
we
Yeah, you
would-
have to do it.
We would have to do it. So, and then we'd bring back and to inform council what we had to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this would be, I presume, done within the next month. Is that, have they agreed, or all of them agreed that that would?
The Nielsen and Interior can get it done this
Good.
year. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor King and Councillor
I
Rhodes.
guess my question back to Nielsen Roofing, if they charged you $3 a square foot and they did all 7,000 square feet, that's only $2,100 on top of their quote. It's still $500 less than the other quote.
That'd be $21,000.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right.
Good.
But I
Okay, so
I
that
like
makes
your
a difference. Councillor Rhodes?
Thank you, Member Koroff. Just a question about the RFP. Interior Roofing, Do you have references and
Um,
stuff that,
Some local I have,
Mhm.
yes, yeah.
nothing
No.
we should be looking at?
No.
Good.
Okay, Councillor Youngberg?
Thank you. Thanks, Gerald, for doing this work. I'm sure that roof needs repairing since I've seen some indications over there. Anyways, the warranty, does that come into your consideration at all? Because I notice interior roofing has a 30-year warranty, or is it, did I read that right?
10-year warranty.
10-year
Yes,
warranty.
that is
Okay.
correct. Yeah, and that's standard with all the ones that we received.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'll make that motion.
Option number one?
Option number one. Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. A seconder?
Sure.
Councillor King. Anyone else like to? Okay, all in favor? Thank you very, against? No? I didn't see all the hands.
Sorry.
Are you against?
No, no,
No.
no.
Well, I didn't see, I'm sorry, I didn't catch all the hands. I was looking and I thought it was only mine. So did everybody vote for that?
Yes.
You did it quickly and I couldn't see it. I was looking
Okay.
to the left. Thank you
Sorry.
very much. That's carried.
I couldn't really see that 10 to 30, and I thought 30-year warranty on that roof, it was good, but it was a
Yeah,
10-year.
10.
I couldn't quite see it on that side. Anyways, that's great. I have a tar and gravel roof. I need it redone, so I'm going to use them.
So watch and see what they do there first.
That's
Okay.
right. Yeah.
Next on our agenda is the RDOS funding agreement, and that's Mr. Davis again.
Thank you again, Madam Mayor. The town and the regional district of Okanagan-Similkameen have an agreement to fund recreational activities for the residents in Area A, and the agreement expired this year and needs to be renewed. The RDOS has agreed to fund recreation and leisure activities by continuing with an agreement. For 2016, the RDOS paid $69,000. In the past, our goal was to reach an amount that would be on par with the assessed value for the RDOS as it relates to the budget for recreation and leisure activities. Staff developed a draft agreement that uses this amount as the baseline, and we will continue to receive this amount along with an annual CPI increase. The RDOS has agreed to fund this amount as per the agreement. The agreement will be for 5 years, commencing in 2016. This agreement will also be sent to the RDOS for approval. In terms of implications for the community, this funding will assist the Community Services Department in programming activities for the community as a whole. Organizational, staff time to implement agreement, budget, the $69,000 annually plus a consumer price index increase annually as per the agreement. Significant dates, ASAP. Sustainability, partnering with the RDOS to fund activities helps to sustain the overall operation of the department. In terms of options, for council to approve the funding agreement between the RDOS and the town of Vesuvius for recreation and leisure activities and forward to the RDOS for their approval. Option number 2, for council to direct staff to negotiate a different agreement with the RDOS and bring back at a later time. Or option number 3, for council not to approve this agreement at this time. And staff is recommending option number 1. The opportunity to partner with the RDOS to offset the cost of recreation and leisure programming is very beneficial for all residents.
Thank you very much. Council, anybody like to make a motion on this? Councillor Youngberg, did you have your hand up?
No.
Oh. Councillor Rhodes.
Well, I'll make a motion based on the wording in option number 1 as recommended.
Thank you. And Councillor Campol is seconding that. So do we need 2 motions? No, it's just that that signing authorities be authorized. That's all part of the motion. Okay. So anybody else need to talk about this? Sounds like a good plan. All in favor? Thank you very much. Now we'll go back to reports, and this would be general net payroll and Sun Bowl Arena financial reports, and to report on expenditures from accounts payable for council approval and payroll information for council to receive, and general cash requirements of $623,003.44. Sun Bowl cash requirements of $2,678.63 and net payroll accounts of $74,466.93. So the general cash and the Sun Bowl cash will be paid by consensus, adopted by consensus, and payroll accounts are for information. We don't need to. Okay, good. Thank you. And the building report. And I see that we have, make this a little bit bigger, that we have three things on our building report for the month of October. One is a single-family dwelling, an in-ground swimming pool, which may have to wait until next year to be used, and a shed in the amount of $356,000. So total to date is $6,058,594, and last year at the same time it was $6,008,000. So we're up a little bit. So do we need to accept the report? We do. Okay, receive the report. Could we have a thank you? Councillor King, Councillor Youngberg, all in favor. Thank you. Committee reports. We don't have any of those, I don't think. CAO report.
Thank you, Mayor McCardoff. Just a few of the activities the administration has been involved in the last couple of weeks. Starting first in community services. As you heard, staff has been meeting with roofing companies to try and outline the roof repair project at the Sonora Centre. Renovations for the offices at the Sonora Centre are nearing completion. Staff met with the Desert Park Exhibition Society regarding a new license of occupation, and that'll be coming to council November 21st. The majority of Kraft Hockeyville upgrades are completed at the Sun Bowl. This includes automatic door opener, a refrigerated auto water filler fountain, automatic taps and flushers in the washrooms. We are also going to replace safety glass in the mezzanine. A couple of activities. Diamonds and Champagne Winter Gala is scheduled for November 26th at the Sonora Centre, and the Cherry Buds program at the Sun Bowl is very popular. The Volleyball League is going well, and we had a pickleball workshop last weekend. In terms of corporate services, many hours are being spent on some freedom of information requests based on an individual out of Ottawa. Our planning and development advertising has gone out for 5 Affordable Community Housing Committee volunteer members with a closing date of November 14th. These volunteers will do the assessments and make the decisions on which applicants are to receive town-subsidized housing in a new subdivision. November 24th at 6:30 in the Sonora Centre, there will be an information session on the development of a conservation fund for the town of Vesuvius. So that's just been set up late last week. There'll be some resource people here coming out to explain what a conservation fund is and what it can accomplish for the community. And this is based on the direction of council, an earlier direction of council. Public Works, the Public Works advertised the town's intent to enforce the cemetery bylaw in spring. The town is asking all family members to remove illegally placed items on grave sites. Work continues on removing the decommissioned well number 2 at the Legion Beach. In terms of myself, let's start with some, I thought would be some interesting stats for council in terms of our Osprey camera. This year we had 71,831 views for an average of 18 minutes and 41 seconds of average viewing time. So there were, in total there was 1.343 minutes, a million minutes viewed in total. In terms of year-over-year figures, June 15th, our peak month, saw 2,234 streaming hours, while in June 2016, that jumped to 8,250 streaming hours. In terms of the fire hall, we had our monthly meeting on Friday. Project is progressing well. With right now, the major focus is on tidying up what I would call deficiencies And we're still hopeful that, now we're hopeful that will be turned over to us in November. One of the difficulties we're having is that our security company can't come in and commission our security system, so we can't commission things like the fire sprinklers and other things. So that's been put on hold till November 16th, but that provides the contractors the opportunity to correct the deficiencies. We just can't check on a lot of things that we'd like to check on. So we're trying to expedite that. It worked with TELUS. I don't know if it'll work with our security system. In terms, we're also involved in budget and business planning, scheduling and meetings, and pulling reports together for the budget process, which is going to start in December. And that's all I have to report for today.
Thank you very much. So we need to a motion to accept the report. Thank you. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Campol, all in favor. Thank you. And now we'll go on to councillors' reports. Councillor Campol, you're first.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. We did a fire hall tour about a week ago, which was not only impressive, was quite educational for me, having never seen the inner workings of a fire hall, similar to the prison tour. Thankfully, that was my first endeavor into that as well. I also want to give a congratulations out to Casey Brower and John and Penny for putting their names in for a tough position as a school trustee, and to congratulate Casey Bauer as our new trustee. And otherwise, I hope to see everybody at the Sonora Center this Friday to pay our respects. That's it for me.
Thank you. Councillor King.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Attended Destination Asoya's meeting last week, and really happy to report that their financials are up to date. They've struck 2 or 3 subcommittees to work on their governance, and they brought a couple new policy forward. And at the same time, now they're starting to look at their budget for next year. So very happy with Destination Asoya at this time. Also represented the town last week and went to Penticton for an orientation on the foreign direct investment strategy that was put on by the South Okanagan-Similkameen Economic Development Group. And that means representation from Summerland through to Asoyas, with about 21 representatives at that meeting. And their objective is really to garner regional investment, supporting and attracting business and industry, and attracting visitors. Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you. Councillor Youngberg.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. Not much to report from me. I've been away for a few days. Other than the Regional Library Board, I'll be attending that next week and helping the committee with nominations. The Child Care Center is looking to place a solar heating system on the roof of the building, so we're working with recruiting some of the costs and expenses that might be related to that, as well as looking forward to some additional signage that they would like up. And I just want to thank the Waterfront Steering Committee for all the work that they've done, because I'm very happy to see that you've continued with the plan to make sure that the design for the moorage is at least something that may be looked at down the road. So appreciate that a lot. And to the Three Amigos for Music in the Park, I can't say enough since I live in the area, and all the work they do is just fantastic for the community.
Thank you very much. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. Well, being last on the list, all I can do is just go ditto.
Yeah.
I did want to mention, the many men and women that have sacrificed their lives and put so much effort into protecting our country nowadays and that type of thing. It's so important that we recognize them, and that's why November 11th is always one of my most favorite holidays of the year, believe it or not. The sacrifice that was given is just insurmountable, and a lot of times, younger people in our community kind of forget about the sacrifices that have been made in the past, with one exception, the town of Asoyas. When we have our event at Sonora Center, a huge majority of those people that are there are young families with their children, and how good is that in our community to have that type of thing to look forward to every year. Get there early. Seating is a a rare commodity. If you're late, you might have to stand up. Every one of the events that I've been at since I moved to this community has been full to the rafters, and we look forward to that again this Friday. Congratulations to Casey Brower for having the most amount of votes in our election last Saturday. Looking forward to him stepping up to the plate and representing our community at the board. And just for CIO or NACO's information, those 18,600,000 minutes that were viewed with our Osprey camera, 9,300,000 were from me. So, yeah. So that's my report.
Thank you. That's when you were supposed to be working?
That's right.
Instead,
Yeah,
you were
exactly,
just,
yeah.
okay.
You clearly don't have optic TV, do you?
Obviously not. Thank you very much. So I just had a couple of things on my list here. One, I just want to say congratulations on the 60th anniversary of Corny and Linda DeCock. I ran into Corny on the road the other day, and he said I hadn't acknowledged it. And I said, yes, I had. I left you a message on your home phone. But anyway, we did. I had Donna make up a nice plaque and take it over to them. So Corny was out hunting, and Linda was doing all the work, which is exactly what happens and what they said on their answering machine. So anyway, congratulations to those two, because they've lived here for 60 years. I also like to say a farewell to Dorothy Fairbairn, who's also lived here for many, many years, and there is an event on at the museum right now thanking Dorothy for all the work that she's done. Her maiden name was Carlson, and there was like a small department store on Main Street, sort of where Eisenhut Insurance is, and it was her family that ran that many, many years ago. So Dorothy's moving to the coast, and we will certainly miss her and her volunteerism at many events. I just want to thank Councillor Campol for his leadership in organizing a leadership conference up at Spirit Ridge a week or so ago. It was done very, very quickly through Spirit of the Game, and which Mike looks after, and we certainly know that the kids enjoyed it. There were lots of speakers, and I think it was a very nice event for the leadership students at the schools, because they were supposed to go on an overnight field trip, which was canceled at the last minute. So thank you, Councillor Campbell, for doing that. I'd also like to say congratulations to Casey Brower. I think it's great that he has 2 years as a trustee now before the elections come up, and that certainly gives him some time to find out what is going on, and I'm sure he'll have lots and lots of things to learn. This Wednesday up at Suya Secondary, the Education Committee of the school board is meeting. They normally meet in Oliver at the board offices, but this one is being held in the library at OSS. So I believe it's open to anyone who would like to go. So you're welcome to go to that. Shoe boxes. The Samaritan's Purse does shoe boxes every year at this time, and I believe that they need to be in this week. I saw some the other day at the elementary school, and some of the businesses on Main Street have them. It's a great, very worthwhile project, and it allows young kids in various parts of the world who wouldn't normally have Christmas gifts to open up a shoebox that has all kinds of goodies in it. So if you're at all interested, have a look at that and do some shoe boxes. I've got some on my bed that I'm just finishing up right now. And I think, Christmas Light Up, I forgot. So Christmas Light Up is on December the 2nd and the 3rd, and it's our Christmas parade, which is on the 2nd, our Light Up parade. The posters are being handed around today, so you will see those. They're also on our website already. And the Nancy Keterenchuk is in charge of the parade. Everything's been organized. She just hasn't sent out the parade forms yet because she's in Alberta shoveling snow. So as soon as she gets back, she will do that. And it's a very fun event for the whole community. And so please think about either putting in a float in the parade, taking part in businesses. We like to have businesses stay open a couple of hours on the evening of December the 2nd, and there's also Santa's Night Out, which is a fundraiser for Dry Grad, and it's being held that night at the Sonora Center. So lots of things to do in coming up in the next month before Christmas, and it'll go quickly. So thank you all, and could we have a motion to close the meeting? Thank you. That would be Councillor Campol, Councillor Rhodes. Thank you very much. Did we have